When you're buying your first home, you'll probably hear terms like building consent, code compliance certificate, and council property file. But what do these actually mean and why do they matter? In this video, I'm going to explain the basics of building due diligence in New Zealand and the simple checks that can help first home buyers have confidence in what it is that they're buying. Let's start with the most important rule. In New Zealand, all building work must comply with the building code, which sits under the Building Act 2004. Generally speaking, most building work requires a building consent from council before it's undertaken. There are some exemptions, but if work should have had consent and it didn't, it can cause serious issues when buying or selling a property. So the big question becomes, how do you know whether the work on the property was done correctly? When building work is approved by council, there are usually two key documents involved. First is the building consent. This is council approval to carry out the works as they've been designed. Second is the code compliance certificate, or CCC. The CCC is issued after the work is completed, confirming council believes that the work complies with the building code. When the CCC is issued, council takes some liability for the work as they should have inspected it. For older homes, there's a slightly different system. Before 92, councils issued building permits, and after 92, councils issued building consents and CCCs. So when you're buying a home, the expectation is that any consented work should appear in the council records, and that work should have a CCC closing it off. A mistake many buyers make is relying only on the LIM report. A LIM is useful, but it doesn't contain all of the building information available most of the time. What you actually want is the full council property file. This file contains building permits, building consents, inspection records, plans, code compliance certificates. Without this file, you can't properly check whether the house matches what council has on record. Best practice for building due diligence usually looks like this. Step 1, order the council property file. Step 2, get a pre-purchase building inspection. And step 3, have the file reviewed by the same assessor. During the inspection, the inspector should not only look at the condition of the house, but also try and identify changes or alterations. For example, has a wall been removed? Have windows been enlarged? Has the layout changed? If any of these changes exist, the next step is to check, do they appear in the council records? And if they required consent, was it applied for? And then finally, was a CCC issued? This is where things get interesting. Sometimes building work is carried out without a consent. Other times work was done with consent, but the CCC was never issued. Both of these situations can and do cause issues. Now here's an important detail. If unauthorised building work happened before 1st of July 1992, the council can't retrospectively issue a building permit. If unconsented work was done after 1992, the council still cannot issue a retrospective CCC. However, there are two possible courses of action that might help. The first is a certificate of acceptance, and the second is a safe and sanitary report. But both of these have limitations. A certificate of acceptance, often called a COA, is when the council reviews the building work that was done without consent. But here's the catch. The council can only assess what they can see today. They usually can't verify hidden structural elements because the work's already been completed. So a COA often comes with limitations. A safe and sanitary report is a little different. It doesn't confirm that the work complies with the building code. Instead, it simply confirms that the property is safe and sanitary to occupy. So while these documents might help in some cases, they certainly don't replace proper consent and CCC documentation. Under Schedule 1 of the Building Act, there are some things that you can do without a building consent. For example, you can generally paint and plaster, you can renovate your kitchen or your bathroom, you can replace electrical and plumbing fixtures and fittings, and you can also maintain the existing building elements, as long as all that work still complies with the building code. But there are lots of things you can't do without a building consent. These include extending the house, removing load-bearing walls, significantly changing the bracing, making windows or doors larger, installing external wall insulation, and replacing structural systems. If you see these types of changes and they don't appear on the council file, there's generally no easy way to confirm that these were done to code. Not always. Some cases of non-compliance are what I would consider paper problems only. They might affect the insurance, future saleability or value, but the house itself might still perform perfectly well. However, other cases can cause serious problems, and they may affect the structural integrity, the weather tightness, the safety or the sanitation. That's where professional advice becomes absolutely critical. For first home buyers, building due diligence is one of the most important parts of the purchase process. The safest approach is to engage a qualified building professional or surveyor who understands the building consent system and council records. A good specialist will help you identify risks and guide you on whether they're an issue that's minor, manageable, or something you should walk away from. Because when it comes to property, it's what you don't know that can cost you an awful lot of money. Let us know in the comments if there's anything that we missed or anything else that you want to know a little bit more on. Thanks very much for watching.